Thank you, Madam Chair. I ask unanimous consent to submit a letter for the record from the National Association of Home Builders indicating their support for an increase in the supply of federal timber products.
It will be accepted.
Thank you, Commissioner Peck. It's great to have you here from Montana. Thanks for making the trip out here. I was struck by your testimony as we looked at the sharp drop in timber harvests in Montana. Your testimony powerfully captures the unacceptable situation we have in Montana and other parts of our country. As you mentioned, you're home of in Libby, you're home of the Libby loggers. I understand we have some students just behind you today from Libby. Welcome as well. And in many ways, this hearing is about their future that we're talking about, so that they can raise their families and stay in Lincoln County if they want to. I heard a very troubling statement in one of our roundtables recently up near Lincoln County when somebody said perhaps the Libby loggers should be renamed the Libby lawyers, because there no longer is a large active sawmill in Libby, and the economy there, the unemployment rate is completely unacceptable. Commissioner Peck, like you, I believe it's important to incentivize and protect collaborative-driven projects, but it seems clear to me that current laws and policies do not adequately do this. Do you agree that the Forest Service needs better direction and latitude to ensure that timber projects in Montana and elsewhere are implemented more quickly?
I would agree with that.
And then how would you characterize the level of timber harvest today compared to what's both sustainable and healthy for Montana's national forests?
If I look back historically as a young man growing up, the cut volumes on the Kootenai were averaging over 200 million board feet a year. The past few years, we've been averaging between 30 to 50 million feet, depending on the different circumstances. As I stated in my opening testimony, the Kootenai, on the average, grows estimated 400 million board feet a year. It's a very productive forest. You can't keep trees from growing there. Having said that, there's no question that the cuts that we've been seeing are, in my opinion, not only as a county commissioner, but as a former Montana Department of Natural Resources timber manager, are far below what we need to see from a forest health standpoint, and definitely from an economic standpoint.
Just a few months ago, a notice of intent to sue was filed against the East Reservoir project in the Kootenai. It was a collaborative-driven project that took years to go through the NEPA process, and yet now faces an uncertain future. And we've just got to stop these obstructions, certainly in the process. You mentioned that for several years you worked alongside the Montana Department of Natural Resource and Conservation. As you know, the Montana state law requires the DNRC to meet an annual timber sale requirement, which now exceeds 57 million board feet. You know, there's an old saying in business, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it. I think we see that increasingly right now, how the forests are being managed. What, in your view, is the value of having a clear timber target in statute that must be met?
You know, from our standpoint on the state lands, it was absolutely critical. It provides not only motivation, but predictability and accountability, not only from a sustained yield and health of the forest and habitat standpoint, but it brings predictability to industry as well. So to me, without it, it'd be like playing football without keeping score. Eventually, you get tired of getting beat up and just kind of, so I think it's critical. It was very effective in our operations at the state level.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Peck. Secretary Bonnie, Forest Service Chief Tom Tidwell was recently here on the Hill and acknowledged before Congress the negative impacts associated with litigation. He also stated that the goal of nearly tripling harvests in Montana's national forest is very reasonable. We used to be at 600 million board feet on our national forests across Montana. Last year, we were at 113 million. I appreciate the work of the Forest Service and what they do in Montana, and I want to work with you in finding solutions that will bring about this outcome in the near future. In your testimony, you highlight the steps the Forest Service has taken to increase and accelerate forest restoration. While these might be positive steps, Montanans can tell you with certainty that they're really not nearly enough. I'd like to quickly run through some possible reforms and ask that you provide just a quick yes or no as to whether USDA supports them or consider supporting them as we look to move forward here with some reforms. First is simplifying environmental review for all timber sales that are the result of a collaborative process.
I think we'd welcome a conversation on that.
Is that a yes or a no?
Well, obviously depends on what it is, but that's been part of what the type of approach we've used. We think collaborative approaches are good. We welcome the conversation around that.
You support collaboratives?
Absolutely.
All right. Establishing a categorical exclusion for all collaborative-driven timber sales that is comparable in size to the new 3,000-acre CE projects combating insect infestation.
So I think we're very interested in ramping up the insect and disease CEs significantly, and if there are comparable approaches, we're interested.
So 3,000-acre CE is something that we could do?
Absolutely. That's what's in the Farm Bill, and we're looking forward to putting that on the ground.
Senator's time has expired.
Okay. I'll come back. We'll talk some more.
Please.
Thank you. Yep.
Senator